There is a kind of silence that frightens the human heart more than any storm. I have seen it in the eyes of people who come to me after years of unanswered prayer, after standing in faith until their knees grew weak, after believing with everything they had, and still waking to the same unchanged circumstances. They sit across from me and their voices crack when they ask the question that lives beneath all the others. Rabbi, does God still hear me? And I understand that question in a way that perhaps only someone who has lived inside both the ancient prayers of Israel and the whispered name of Jesus in the darkest hour can understand. Because there was a season in my own life when I prayed and heard nothing, when I opened the Torah at dawn and felt only the weight of words I had read 1,000 times, when the God I had served since childhood seemed to have withdrawn his presence so completely that I wondered if I had imagined it all. That silence nearly destroyed me. But let me tell you something that changed my life. What I thought was God's absence was actually God's deepest work. What felt like abandonment was preparation. And the silence I feared was the very place where everything I needed was being built. I was 53 years old when I entered the longest silence of my life. For 40 years I had been a rabbi, a teacher of Torah, a man who could recite entire books of the Hebrew scriptures from memory. I had married couples and buried the dead. I had sat with families in their grief and helped young men prepare for their bar mitzvahs. My life had a rhythm, a structure, a certainty. And then in a single year, everything I had built began to crumble. My wife became ill with something the doctors could not name. My oldest son told me he no longer believed. The synagogue where I had served for 2 decades faced financial collapse. And in the middle of all of this, I developed a pain in my chest that would wake me at night, a tightness that made it hard to breathe, though every test came back normal. I prayed the prayers I had always prayed. I fasted. I wept before God. I reminded him of his promises to Abraham, to Moses, to David, and I heard nothing. The heavens were brass. My words felt like they rose no higher than the ceiling. And for the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to cry out to God and receive only silence in return. If you are in that place right now, if you have been praying for something so long that your faith feels thin as paper, if you have asked God to move and he has not moved, to speak and he has not spoken, I want you to hear what I am about to tell you. God has not forgotten you. He has not abandoned you. What feels like absence is often the sign of his most intimate presence. What looks like delay is the evidence of preparation, and the silence you are enduring right now is not emptiness. It is the sound of something being built in the unseen realm that is so far beyond what you have asked for that if you saw it now in its unfinished state, you would not recognize it as the answer to your prayer. There is a Hebrew word that I learned as a boy and did not understand until I was an old man. The word is damama. It appears in the book of Kings when the prophet Elijah is hiding in a cave, running from a queen who wants him dead, so depleted and afraid that he asks God to let him die. And God tells him to stand at the mouth of the cave because the Lord is about to pass by. First comes a wind so strong it tears the mountains apart, but God is not in the wind. Then comes an earthquake that shakes the ground beneath Elijah's feet. But God is not in the earthquake. Then comes fire. But God is not in the fire. And after the fire, the text says there came a damama daka. The translation most people know says a still small voice. But that is not quite what the Hebrew means. Damama is not a voice. It is a silence, but not the silence of absence. It is the silence of presence so overwhelming that it makes no sound. It is the silence of God drawing so near that all other noise ceases. It is the silence in which everything is spoken without words. And it was in that silence, not in the earthquake or the fire, that Elijah heard what God wanted him to hear. I have been wrong about many things in my life, but I have never been wrong about this. The silence of God is not punishment. It is preparation. It is not distance. It is intimacy. And if you are in a season where you feel like God has gone quiet, I am telling you as someone who has walked that road and come out the other side, he is closer to you now than he has ever been. He is simply doing something so profound, so precisely calibrated to what you actually need, and not just what you think you need, that he cannot let you see it yet. Because if you saw it now, you would try to help, and your help would ruin it. Let me tell you what happened in my own life during that long season of silence. My wife's illness did not improve. My son did not return to the faith. The synagogue doors closed, and the pain in my chest grew worse. I stopped sleeping. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling and feeling the weight of failure pressing down on me like a stone. I was a rabbi. I was supposed to have answers. I was supposed to be a man of faith, and I had nothing. I could not fix my wife. I could not reach my son. I could not save the place where I had poured out my life. And one night, it must have been 3 or 4 in the morning, I got out of bed and went into the small study where I kept my books. I sat in the dark. I did not even turn on the light. And I said out loud to the empty room, God, I do not understand what you are doing. I do not understand why you brought me to this place. I have served you my whole life, and now everything is falling apart. If you are still there, if you still hear me, I need you to show me something, anything. I cannot go on like this. And in the silence that followed, something shifted. I cannot describe it any other way. I did not hear a voice. I did not see a vision. But there was a presence in that room that had not been there a moment before. And it was so real, so tangible that I began to weep. Not from sadness, from relief. Because I realized in that moment that God had been there the entire time. He had been in every unanswered prayer. He had been in every closed door. He had been in the silence itself, not withholding his presence, but intensifying it, drawing so close to me that I could not perceive him the way I was used to perceiving him. And in that nearness, he began to dismantle everything I had built so that he could build something I never could have built for myself. For 40 years I was a Jewish rabbi, and I never understood this until that night. I thought faith meant having answers. I thought serving God meant success, visible results, prayers that were answered quickly and in the way I expected. I thought that if I was faithful, God would bless what I was doing, protect what I loved, and keep my life on the path I had chosen. But that is not faith. That is transaction. That is a contract. And God is not interested in contracts. He is interested in covenant. And covenant is something else entirely. Covenant says, I will be with you when everything falls apart. I will remain when every other thing you trusted in is taken away. I will not give you what you asked for because what you asked for is too small. I will give you myself. And once you have me, truly have me, you will see that I was the answer to every prayer you ever prayed, even the ones you did not know you were praying. The Torah, the very scripture I had memorized from childhood, was telling me something I was not ready to hear. In the book of Exodus, when Moses asked God to show him his glory, God says, "You cannot see my face and live. But I will put you in the cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand while my glory passes by, and then I will take away my hand, and you will see my back." For years, I thought that was about God's holiness being too overwhelming for human eyes, and that is part of it. But there is something else there. God does not show Moses his glory when Moses asks. He shows it after. He makes Moses wait in the darkness of the rock. He covers him. He hides him, and only when the glory has passed, only when the work is done, does he allow Moses to see what has happened. That is how God works. He hides you in the silence. He covers you in the waiting. He does the work where you cannot see it. And then when it is finished, when it is too late for you to interfere or take credit or try to control the outcome, he shows you what he has done, and it is always, always greater than what you asked for. I want to tell you what God says to you today. He says, be still. Stop striving. Stop trying to force the doors open. Stop rehearsing your complaints. Stop reminding me of my promises as if I have forgotten them. I have not forgotten. I do not forget. I am not delayed. I am not withholding. I am working. And what I am building for you in this silence is so far beyond what you have imagined that if I showed it to you now, you would not believe it was for you. You would think it was meant for someone else, someone more qualified, someone who did not fail as many times as you have failed, someone who did not doubt as deeply as you have doubted. But it is for you. It has always been for you. And the reason I have not answered yet is not because I am testing you. It is because I am preparing you. I am dismantling the small vision so I can give you the large one. I am taking apart the life you built so I can build the life I always intended. And I need you to be still. Because if you keep moving, if you keep trying to fix this yourself, you will settle for something far less than what I have planned. There is a verse in the Psalms that I must have read 1,000 times before I understood what it was actually saying. Be still and know that I am God. In Hebrew, the phrase be still is not a gentle suggestion to relax. It is a command. And the word that gets translated as be still literally means to let go, to release, to stop fighting. It is the word you would use to describe a soldier dropping his weapons, a man loosening his grip on something he has been clutching too tightly, a person finally exhaling after holding their breath for too long. Be still, let go. Stop trying to control this. Stop trying to make it happen. Stop striving and scheming and manipulating and forcing, and know that I am God. Not know about me, not know facts about me, but know me, experience me, encounter me in the stillness, in the silence, in the space that opens up when you finally stop trying to be your own savior. That is what God is asking of you today. He is asking you to be still, not because he wants you to be passive, not because he does not care about your pain or your problems or your desperate need for breakthrough, but because the breakthrough you need is not something you can produce. It is something he is already producing. And your job is not to help him. Your job is to trust him. Your job is to let go of the need to see it, to understand it, to control the timeline, to manage the outcome. Your job is to be still and know that he is God. And if he is God, truly God, then he does not need your help. He does not need your anxiety. He does not need you to remind him of what he promised or what you need or how urgent this feels. He knows. He has always known. And he is working in the silence, in the stillness, in the place you cannot see. He is building something so much greater than you can imagine that when it finally comes into view, you will fall to your knees and weep, not because you got what you asked for, but because you realize he gave you something infinitely better. I want to tell you what happened after that night in my study. My wife's illness did eventually heal, but not in the way I expected. It took 2 more years. And in those 2 years, she and I had conversations we never would have had if she had been well. We talked about faith and fear and what it means to trust God when your body is betraying you. We prayed together in ways we had never prayed before. And something in our marriage that had been good became deep. The healing God gave her was not just physical. It was relational. It was spiritual. And it could not have happened quickly. My son did come back to faith, but not to the religion I had taught him. He came back to a living encounter with Jesus that was his own, not mine, not something inherited, but something discovered in the wreckage of his own doubts and questions. And when he came back with a fire I had never seen in him before. The synagogue did close, but 6 months later I was invited to teach at a small congregation that met in a living room, a group of Jewish believers in Jesus who had been praying for a rabbi who understood both worlds. And it was there, in that little gathering of 20 people, that I finally understood what I had been searching for my whole life. The pain in my chest finally went away the night I stopped trying to fix everything and simply said to God, I trust you. I do not understand you, but I trust you. And the moment I said it, the moment I truly meant it, the tightness released. I do not know if it was physical or spiritual or both. I just know that I could breathe again. And I have been breathing freely ever since. Not because my life is easy. It is not because I have all the answers. I do not. But because I learned that God is not waiting for me to have it all figured out. He is waiting for me to trust him in the middle of not having it figured out. He is waiting for me to be still. If you are going through something difficult right now, listen to me carefully. This is not the end. This is not failure. This is not God punishing you or forgetting you or testing to see if you will give up. This is God building something in the unseen realm that is so precisely designed for you, so perfectly calibrated to the specific needs of your soul and the specific calling on your life, that it could not have been built any other way. Every piece of this season has a purpose. Every delay has a reason. Every closed door is making space for the door He is about to open. And when that door opens, when the silence finally breaks and you see what He has been doing, you will understand why it took so long. You will understand why He did not answer when you first asked. You will understand that His no was not rejection. It was protection. His delay was not denial. It was preparation. And His silence was not absence. It was the sound of the master builder at work, constructing something so far beyond your original request that you will spend the rest of your life marveling at His goodness. I have been a rabbi for over 50 years. I have studied the Torah since I was a child. I have memorized the prayers. I have observed the feasts. I have walked with God through seasons of blessing and seasons of suffering. And if there is one thing I know with absolute certainty, it is this: God does not waste your pain. He does not waste your waiting. He does not waste the seasons of silence. He is always, always working, even when you cannot see it, even when it does not feel like it, even when every circumstance screams the opposite. He is working, and what He is building for you in the silence is greater than you can imagine. So be still. Trust Him. Let go of the need to control the outcome, and know that the God who began this good work in you will be faithful to complete it, not on your timeline, on His, not in your way, in His, but always, always for your good and for His glory. The silence will not last forever, but what is built in the silence will